Last week, Aubrey and I participated in another 7-day game jam and made a game called Desperate Gods. The theme of the jam was to create a game in a genre that you don't normally like, so I ended up making a digital board game. We actually like board games, but feel that video game adaptations tend to leave out several aspects that make board games great. First, with real board games, at a basic level, it's fun just to move pieces around and roll dice to see what comes up. To replicate that, I tried to match the mouse controls to real movements as closely as possible. For example, you can click and hold on a die to pick it up, and mouse over other dice to pick them up as well, then shake to randomize them, and release to roll. You can also tap any piece on the board by pressing T, which can help with counting squares. Similarly, you can click and hold on decks to pick them up, or quickly peel off cards. Second, real board games have a lot of freedom, because the rules only exist as a kind of social contract between players. You can easily set up house rules to improve the game design, allow new players to undo moves that they don't understand, or even make a different game entirely using the same pieces. In Desperate Gods, we take a similar approach. We provide the game manual, a set of cards and pieces, and a shared online space, but otherwise, you can do whatever you want. The best way to play is probably with friends using an external voice chat program. There's an in-game text chat as well, but if you play with anonymous strangers, they might not care about the rules as much. Third, real board games are inherently social. The players are all in the same space, interacting in real time. On the other hand, digital board games often feel cold and distant. You often can't even see what the other player is doing until their turn is done. To address that, I made sure everything is synchronized in real time, down to individual mouse cursors and sound effects. To further help create a shared space, Antone wrote several original songs for the game, and playback is synchronized for each player. We made this system open source on GitHub, and the link is in the description for this video, in case anyone would like to try adapting the system to a different board game. Aside from the shared board game space, we also created the board game itself, which is sort of a cross between Chutes and Ladders and Diablo. In the bottom right corner, you can see the town next to the town deck, which includes all the equipment that you can buy there. Near the town is this green wilderness area, where you fight enemies from this top deck. Farther out, you enter the dungeon, which contains monsters from the next deck down. At this corner, you can continue around to head back out of the dungeon, or you can head down to fight the next level of monsters. Finally, you can head down to the deepest dungeon and fight the hardest monsters. To set up the game, first you draw 3 cards from the town deck to represent what's currently in stock at the store. Then each player chooses one of the colored figures and places it on the town square. Next, you roll to see who goes first, and the first player starts a turn. To take a turn, you roll 2 dice and move clockwise the number of squares shown on either one of the dice. Here I rolled a 2 and a 6, so I can move either 2 squares or 6 squares. After moving, you just follow the directions printed on the square. In this case, it says to draw 2 cards and pick one. That means draw 2 cards from the monster deck and pick which one you want to fight. Monster cards have 3 symbols. This die here is the value you have to roll in order to win, so here we need at least a 3. The coin shows how many coins you get if you win, and the skull shows how many points the monster is worth at the end of the game. Here I rolled a 3, so that means I win. I take the card and put it in my victory pile, and take the number of silver coins shown on the card. The gold coins are just there to replace 5 silvers if you have too many coins. If you lose a battle, you give up a hit point, and put the card on the bottom of the deck that it came from. If you run out of hit points, you lose all of the coins you're carrying and return to town. Either way, the turn is over, and the next player takes a turn. The game ends when every monster is defeated. Then you add up all the points in your victory pile, and whoever has the most is the winner. This should be enough to get a basic idea, but there's also a how-to-play document that goes into the rules in more detail. The primary design goal was to maintain the accessibility of the roll and move genre, while allowing players to make interesting choices with every turn. That's why there are frequent opportunities for players to choose how many squares to move, which monsters to fight, which items to buy, and whether to move deeper into the dungeon, but there are usually only 2 or 3 options at the same time, so they aren't overwhelming. If you'd like to try it yourself, you can download the game for free at wolfire.com/dg. Even if you don't like board games, it's worth a try just to check out Aubrey's artwork. He created 40 detailed cards, as well as the board, figurines, and all the other artwork. If you find any bugs or gameplay balance issues, or make any cool modifications, please let us know on the Wolfire message boards. You can also find out about updates there, as well as on Twitter at Wolfire.